Have you ever walked into your home, looked around, and felt like the walls were quietly closing in? Not from mess, but from too much of everything? Not dirty, not chaotic, just full. Full of things you once needed, once loved. And now, you're not quite sure what to do with them. A few months ago, I visited Norico, an 80-year-old woman living alone just outside Seattle. Her home was small, simple, really. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Calm, stillness. It wasn't the decoration, it wasn't the size. It was the way every item had a place, and every corner felt like it had been waiting for her to return. I asked her, "How do you keep everything so tidy?" She smiled and said, "I don't tidy. I thank things, and then I send them home." That answer stayed with me because no one ever tells us this. A messy home isn't just about stuff. It's about energy we no longer have, decisions we're too tired to make, and stories we don't know how to end. And as we get older, clutter doesn't just take up space. It chips away at our sense of control, of rhythm, of who we are. But what if peace could begin with one small habit? No pressure, no perfection, just quiet, daily rhythms that slowly bring your home and your heart back to balance. Today, I'll gently share with you 7 Japanese habits I learned from Norico. Habits that helped her live lightly, age gracefully, and never feel overwhelmed by the home she once thought might outgrow her. And the last habit? It's not about organizing at all, but it might change the way you see everything around you. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and how has your relationship with your home been lately? We read every single comment, and your story might be just what someone else needs today. Let's begin with the gentlest habit of all, one that starts not with cleaning, but with remembering where things belong. Do you ever find yourself wandering from room to room, searching for your reading glasses, the remote, or that one piece of paper you swore you put somewhere safe? That's exactly where Norico began, by making sure everything in her home had a place to return to. Not a perfect place, just a clear one. The remote lived on a small tray on the coffee table. Her keys always hung by the front door. Her slippers pointed toward the hallway, waiting for her each morning. And every towel, cup, and pair of scissors had a home, not a drawer they fell into, a home they belonged to. She told me once, "I don't clean, I just bring things back home." It sounded so simple, but it was the reason her home felt calm, even when she was tired, even when life got busy. I looked around my own house after that visit and realized how many things wandered. My nail clippers, the mail, my extra pair of glasses, always on the move, always making me feel like I was chasing my own life. What I didn't say out loud, but felt deeply, was how losing track of little things made me feel like I was slipping too. As we get older, we don't just want a neat home. We want to feel capable, in control, like the space around us still answers to us, not the other way around. I started small. One basket by the couch for remotes and chargers, a bowl by the door for keys, one drawer in the kitchen for nothing but tea. Just that made my days feel smoother. You can do this too, Norico said. When things know where they belong, they stop shouting. And I believe her. What's one item in your home that's always drifting? One thing you could give a home today? Let me know in the comments. Sometimes naming it is the first step to calming the room it's in. But what if the clutter isn't about where things go, but when we decide to deal with them? That's where the next habit quietly changes everything. Have you ever noticed how one dirty cup left in the sink somehow turns into a pile by the end of the day? Norico calls this the 1-minute promise. If something takes less than 60 seconds, she does it right away. Wipe the counter. Put the spoon back. Hang the towel instead of tossing it over the chair. She doesn't wait for the right time. She just finishes the moment she's in. I once watched her pour tea, then gently wipe the table with a soft cloth. One small drop, gone in a breath. I asked her why she didn't just wait and clean everything later. She smiled and said, "Because later becomes never, and never becomes mess." That sentence hit me harder than I expected. What she never said, but I could feel, is that putting things off doesn't just clutter the home, it clutters the mind. And the truth is, at this age, we don't have endless energy to catch up anymore. A few delayed tasks build invisible pressure. They follow us quietly from morning to night, whispering, "You still haven't finished." I know that feeling. There were nights I lay in bed frustrated, not because the house was filthy, but because I hadn't done the small things. The cup on the table, the socks still on the floor. They felt like tiny failures. But since I started my own 1-minute promise, I sleep lighter. My space feels finished. You can do this too. Norico said, "I don't clean to be perfect. I clean to be free." And science backs her up. Studies have shown that completing small tasks immediately reduces mental fatigue and lowers anxiety, especially in older adults. What's one little thing you could do now instead of later? Maybe it's putting the mail away or folding the blanket you just used. Tell me below. I'd love to hear what tiny promise you're making to yourself today. But not all clutter comes from what we delay. Some of it comes from what we keep, just in case. And that's where the next habit gently asks us to choose, with care and without guilt. What if the real secret to a peaceful home isn't owning more storage, but simply needing less? I still remember standing in Norico's kitchen, surprised by how little she owned. 1 pot, 1 pan, 2 bowls, and just 1 pair of chopsticks for herself. Nothing was missing, but nothing was extra either. Her fridge didn't hold forgotten sauces or wilting vegetables, just what she needed for the next few meals. I asked if she ever worried about not having enough. She looked at me gently and said, "I have everything I use. That's enough." It made me think about the drawer in my kitchen, stuffed with gadgets I never use, the closet with clothes from a decade ago, and the shelf with books I've never opened. I had kept them all just in case, but that case never came. Meanwhile, they quietly weighed down my space and my spirit. As we grow older, we hold on tighter, sometimes out of fear. Fear of wasting, fear of needing, fear of forgetting. But the truth is, the more we carry, the harder it is to move forward. Norico reminded me, keeping things also means keeping part of your mind. If we hold too much, there's no room left to feel light. So I began asking simple questions with each item. Do I use this? Does it bring peace? And if not, am I willing to let it go gently? You don't have to toss everything at once. Start with 1 shelf, 1 drawer, 1 memory you're ready to honor and release. You can do this too. Let me ask you, what's one thing you've been holding on to that no longer serves your daily life? Leave me a note below. Sometimes just saying it out loud is the first step to setting it free. Now, what if we didn't just clean to remove mess, but to honor the day we just lived? That's what Norico's next habit taught me, and it takes no more than 5 quiet minutes. Have you ever gone to bed and felt like the day was still chasing you? Crumbs still on the table, a chair left out of place, a teacup waiting in the sink. It's not just mess, it's an unfinished story, one that quietly follows you into your dreams and greets you again in the morning. I noticed something different the night I stayed late at Norico's home. As we finished our tea, I expected her to leave the tidying for later. But without saying much, she stood up, walked to the kitchen, and began moving with calm, practiced grace. In just 5 minutes, she put away the snack tray, rinsed 2 cups, wiped the table, and gently straightened 2 chairs. No rushing, no sighing, just small deliberate movements, like someone tucking a child into bed. When she finished, she smiled softly and said, "Now my day is complete." That one sentence stayed with me. I used to leave everything where it was, telling myself I'd handle it tomorrow. But the next day always began in yesterday's clutter, and that clutter clouded my mood before I even had my coffee. What I learned from Norico is simple and powerful. A 5-minute ritual before bed can reset not just your home, but your heart. This isn't about perfection. It's about peace. One clean surface, one rinsed dish, one small act that tells your body, you did enough today. Now rest. As older adults, we often feel too tired to do much, but 5 minutes is something we can all manage. You don't need strength, you just need a rhythm. You can do this too. So tonight, before bed, try 3 things. Fold the towel, clear the table, straighten the shoes by the door, and notice how your breath softens. What small gesture would help you end your day more gently? I'd love to hear what your 5 minutes might include, because next, we'll look at a habit that's not just about cleaning space, but protecting it. And it begins with a simple boundary. Have you ever thanked your favorite spoon? It might sound silly at first, but one quiet evening, I watched Norico wash her teacup, dry it gently, and press her hands together before placing it back on the shelf. I asked what she was doing, and she said with the softest smile, "Just thanking it for serving me today." In that moment, I realized gratitude isn't always loud. Sometimes it's whispered into the smallest corners of our lives. Norico doesn't own much, but what she has, she honors. A pot that's been with her for 30 years. A shawl her daughter gifted her one cold winter. Even her broom has a place and a name. She once told me, "I don't live with things. I live with companions." There's something sacred about that. When we take a breath before putting an item away, when we pause to appreciate, not just use, it changes the rhythm of our homes. We stop consuming and start connecting. And maybe that's what we're really craving as we grow older. Not just a clean house, but a space filled with respect, memory, and quiet joy. Gratitude softens the edges of letting go. If you can thank something, you can release it gently. You can do this too. Start with one object. Maybe the bowl you use every morning, or the book that kept you company one hard night. Say thank you. That's all. Norico once told me, "I've lived with little, but I never felt poor, because I saw every item as a gift." What's one thing in your home that's walked through life with you? Quietly helping, quietly staying? I'd love to know. Your story matters, and someone else might need to hear it too. Today, we didn't just talk about letting go. We talked about making space for clarity, rhythm, and joy. Maybe today, just one drawer, just one item, and just one deep breath. Tell me, what's one item you're ready to thank and release? I read every story, and they stay with me longer than most things ever could. If this video helped you feel just a little lighter, send it to a friend who might need space to breathe again. Because no matter your age, it's never too late to build a home that feels like peace.